as you are growing your visibility, you're growing your brand, you're creating the content, you're doing the live streams, whatever you are showing up, essentially, there is something really, really sneaky that can come and kind of throw you off balance or make you feel as though you are maybe in burnout, maybe having now like this resistance to showing up. And I'm here to tell you that it comes this sneaky little thing that is hiding behind the scenes that no one's really talking about. And this is known as visibility grief. Visibility grief is the emotional experience of loss, discomfort, or mourning that happens as you become more known, more seen, and or more expressed. Essentially, it's the grief that comes with mourning, or rather outgrowing old versions of yourself and the identities, the relationships, and the protections that came with staying small. This really is not talked about much, but it is a very, very real thing. And regardless of where you're at in your visibility journey, I need you to lock in on this video. So we tend to think that as we grow with visibility, we're gaining the things, we're gaining the attention, hopefully the sales, right? Our community is growing, our audience is growing, hopefully our bank account is growing, right? But in the process, you will find yourself also losing things as well. You're losing old identities, ones that kept you safe, ones that kept you protected. You're losing this way of being that allowed you to be underestimated. When you are smaller, we're going to use a lot of air quotes in this video. When you are smaller, not as known, you haven't built the big platform, the big audience, all the things, you were able to kind of take pleasure in being underestimated, right? Where people would talk to you and it's like, oh my gosh, like you're a genius. Oh my gosh, you're so good at this. Like the surprise, right? Like the, oh my gosh. And you're like, yes, I am. I am pretty good, Anna. I'm pretty dope, Anna. Right? As you grow though with your visibility, that it shifts to where then people essentially, some will place you on a pedestal. Some people will expect more from you, expect better from you. The standard for you is now different than it once was. Some of those standards are honestly unrealistic. Oh my gosh, losing the people who were comfortable with the old you. That old version of you, the one who spiraled all the time, the one who stayed stuck, the one who made excuses, the one who they could call to bitch about something and you were right there, right along with them in bitch land, bitching about the bitch and the bitch and the bitch. I apologize if you have children present. You would also be losing the comfort of coping mechanisms like shrinking or hiding because you've built your visibility so big, your platform so big, your audience so big, whatever, that is like now if you hide, if you shrink, people are going to notice. And that in itself could really harm your brand. Not always, If you're hiding and you're shrinking, yes. However, the point being is when you were smaller, if you were hiding, if you were shrinking, like nobody really gave a damn. Nobody really noticed. Some people might be like, oh, like in passing, like, oh, I haven't seen such and such in a while. And then like that's it. Whereas when you've amassed a larger amount of visibility, people are noticing immediately. There is something wrong. Like, and if you're hiding and you're shrinking, it can be, I don't want to say a detriment to like your brand and everything that you've built, but when it's coming from that energy, yes, it can be harmful to your brand and people are going to pick up on it, they're going to notice it, all the things. And you lose the illusion of safety and staying unseen, right? So when you are smaller, less visibility, the mistakes that you make, as many times as you fall and you fail, even though you're getting back up, right? Again, it's one of those things where like people aren't really noticing, like let's be honest, like everybody's got shit to do. People aren't really noticing. But when you do grow in your visibility and you do make a mistake, if you do fail, you're gonna fall and it's gonna be a lot louder, right? And all of these, like, it's okay. It's okay. It's part of the journey, it's part of the process, and it's part of that growth that at one point in time you were praying to have. So, yes, there's going to be all types of upsides to your visibility growth, but I want to make sure that you're prepared for the visibility grief, because despite what other people online might make it seem like, that once you start growing, oh my God, everything's great. Oh my God, I'm making so much money. Oh my God, I'm having 10K months, 20K months, 50K months, 400K years, whatever, that they don't typically come and tell you about all of the downside, all of the internal things, the internal battles that they have had to go through that period of growth with their visibility. So let's kind of talk about like identifying what it could potentially feel like, because you might be literally experiencing this like right now. And so visibility grief can show up like sadness that you can't really understand. And I am not a therapist. However, when you hear me say that, does that not make you think of depression? Right? And this is why it's again, it's good to have these conversations open and honestly. I'm not telling anybody to go get therapy, and I'm not telling anybody not to go get therapy, because y'all not about to try to sue Quiana. All that I'm saying is sometimes these things have correlations to maybe more serious things, and you immediately think of the more serious thing. Like, again, maybe it's not depression and it is the visibility grief, and you're just going through a growth process. Visibility grief can come up as, and this one hit me so hard, nostalgia for who you used to be. Listen, when I was planning out this video and I broke this down to my husband, I said, I go through this one the most, the nostalgia for who I used to be. You really got to think about this. I have these moments where I yearn for the times when I was homeless. Crazy to say. Crazy to say. When I was struggling, when I couldn't afford to feed myself, when I was walking around with holes in the bottom of my shoes, like all types of shit. And somehow I yearn for to kind of be back in some of those moments, because even though, yes, it was a rough time for me, at the same time, I would walk all the way to Starbucks, and those people became like family. Those people took care of me. Oh, not today, Quiana. Not today. Those people took care of me. Those people were so supportive of me. I was building friendships, community essentially, to go somewhere and you feel like, being just at the bottom pit of life. Like you're like, I don't think it could really get any worse. And to walk into a place and there are people whose faces light up when you're not used to seeing that. I didn't grow up with that. I didn't grow up with the kind of family that would just smile at me, So, having that meant so much. If any of them ever see this video, if God and the angels just like do what needs to be done, I hope that they know how much that meant to me. And so, yes, even now that I am in a different place in life, a much essentially better place in life, I still have nostalgia for the old versions of me, the smaller versions of me, because she had things then that truly mattered that I would say now I don't have, because I have my home, I get to kind of be to myself and all of those things, where before that wasn't something that I was doing. Now, visibility grief can also look like feeling exposed. When you really think about it, when you're smaller, like your stories are your stories, your experiences are your experience, all of that to tell, right? And most people aren't really going to know unless you're the one telling it, right? And this is just an example. But when you are bigger, now you have other people telling your stories for you. Now you have other people telling your experiences for you. Even if like it's their experience of you, they're more willing to talk about it. When you think about some big names in, the coaching industry or whatever, and you just think about Okay, now these people, they're on Reddit telling their, stories of other people, of those big name people, Facebook, whatever. Like they'll tell anybody who's like fucking willing to listen. And that just comes with that visibility growth. Visibility grief can literally feel like missing the simplicity of being unknown. And we've kind of touched on that as a whole, right? Hey, when nobody really knew you, like whatever you had going on, whatever you did, even publicly, like nobody really gave a fuck. Visibility grief can show up as loneliness during growth. I'm gonna put that in my like top three, right? That loneliness, those seasons where you're locked in, you're doing what you need to do, but at the same time you're so focused, and not even just being focused, you're so protective of what it is that you are trying to build. Like I'm talking about to the point where like you're like, I keep fumbling. I have to get my shit together and I really need to just lock in. And I can't have any distractions. I can't like I can't. And even though you want the connection pieces, and it doesn't mean that you don't have like any, right? But what it used to look like shifts dramatically to the point where it can kind of feel like isolating, like you've isolated yourself, and it can feel lonely. And when you are, especially when you're doing this alone, right? You get to that point where it's like, again, like there are people who might miss the old version of you, the person that they could just call in the middle of the day and, talk shit with you for like 3 hours or so. And you miss having that, but at the same time, you know that you had to let that go, and so you have started doing that, and it feels really lonely. It can feel really, really lonely. Visibility grief can also look like discomfort with being perceived. Oh my gosh, because when you get to that point in the growth of your visibility, kind of like how we talked about, like people start sharing, like telling your stories for you, is like that perception, like you have to kind of live with the perceptions that people now have of you, and that they will also publicly state how they feel about the perception that they have of you. Where again, before when you were unknown, like we all have perceptions of people, but what at least, and tell me if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. Those bigger named people, typically people will express more publicly, more visibly, the perception that they have of that person. And then again, like we said before, with like people setting like sometimes even unfair standards for you, was, that perception that they now have of you, whether that perception is fair or not, that's just something that you have to deal with. Now, visibility grief can also look like the fear of being misunderstood. And I think that this is one that I've seen talked about more. It wasn't necessarily phrased in that kind of way, but it's we've been in the age of like cancel culture. And so that is a big one. So is even though the people are saying like it's like the fear of being canceled, but truly it is the fear of being misunderstood. If I say this on my platform, are the people going to come with their fucking pitchforks? What's going to happen? I have this opinion. And on one hand, we have this side of the industry saying like, speak your truth and, be an authority, da 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 da. And then on the other side, but then there's the people who are like, we will cancel the fuck out of you. And you know what's interesting? Has anybody ever really truly been canceled? Like truly? Like we canceled Target, but like Target's still out here making more money than all of us. Like there's a video, and this is like so side conversation real quick. It's interesting because it's, at what point do people not really give a fuck about why somebody's being canceled? We just had Valentine's Day, and there was a video that I saw this woman took, and she was like, I've never seen so many men in this store. So many men just everywhere, looking confused in the wild. And it's interesting because it's like, yeah, Target probably did make a lot more sales during Valentine's Day weekend, because all the men went to Target and was like, listen, I think Target's where women like to go. They got flowers, they got candy, they got teddy bears, they got everything I need. I'm going to Target, right? Nonetheless, I just thought that was interesting. Anyway, so a simple way to understand visibility grief is you can kind of relate it to at least the feeling of like a major life transition, like moving to a new city, becoming a parent, ending a relationship, changing careers. You can want the change and still mourn what it is that you're leaving behind. Because at the end of the day, like your visibility changes how others see you, how you see yourself, your sense of identity, and your sense of safety. The more authentic you come, and essentially the bigger you get, the more that you cannot go back to hiding the same way that you used to. And that really can feel really tender. So, for example, if you start maybe posting more authentically, you might suddenly feel like, why do I feel emotional even though this is what I wanted? That can be visibility grief. But it doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. It just means that you are expanding. Okay, so now we've talked about what it is, what it looks like, all the things. How are we going to overcome it? Because that's, we need that too. So I want you to name what it is that you're actually feeling. Like, oh, I'm not losing motivation. I'm grieving an identity shift. Because if you don't name it, you might think that it's burnout. You might think you just being dramatic. You might be wondering, honestly, like, am I cut out for this? And you might be thinking that something is wrong. But naming it is what helps to like remove the shame that you're feeling around the experience. So I want you to literally say to yourself, this is grief because I'm growing. 2, stop interpreting discomfort as a reason to shrink. Honey, this is huge. So when visibility grief shows up, your instinct might be to pull back. It might be to stop posting, guilty, to go quiet, to hide. And it's not because you don't want the visibility, but rather your nervous system, it wants familiarity. So I want us to reframe this. Discomfort equals expansion, not danger. And so you don't have to like push aggressively. Just like don't abandon yourself through the decisions that you make when you are experiencing these things. So number 3 is let yourself mourn the old version of you. And this, I think a lot of people skip this. And it's okay. You're not going to. So again, there was safety in being unknown, being underestimated, not being fully seen, and not having expectations, at least expectations pushed onto you. It really is okay to acknowledge part of me misses when things felt simple. I promise you, you are not betraying your growth by honoring that. Number 4, normalize the emotional waves. Because visibility growth is not emotionally neutral. So like like you might one day feel really, really proud and then exposed the next day and then grounded the next day and then emotional for just no reason at all the next day. This does not mean that you're unstable. Okay, you're fine. It really just means that you're integrating change. I want you to expect the waves. Expect those waves. Stop trying to be confident all the time. 5, stay connected to your deeper reason for wanting the visibility in the first place. We're not talking metrics, we're not talking numbers. I genuinely just want you to ask yourself, why does being visible matter to me? And I think that that's something that we should come back to periodically. Because when that visibility grief shows up, reconnecting to purpose helps to create that emotional stability. But remember, we're still honoring the wave. It just helps to remind your nervous system that the transition is meaningful. It's not random, okay? Number 6, let your identity catch up to your reality. Like sometimes you grow faster externally than you do internally. So you might already be more visible, more expressed, more confident. I do not know why we did air quotes for those. But your identity, it still feels like the old you. And that gap, that can create grief. So I want you to like literally give yourself time to integrate. You do not need to rush into full embodiment. Honor the process. When you are feeling those moments, child, get out the house, go find something to do, something that makes you happy. Go try something new, even if it's, a new gelato spot, or they opened up a little French bakery. Let me go get some fresh macaroons, like something. Number 7, stay in relationship with your work, not performance. We are not showing up perfectly. We are not showing up perfectly. We're just staying connected. So there's consistency. It's going to look different for everybody, but maybe let it be gentle. Lower the pressure. Keep the relationship with your work alive, not performative. That grief is going to soften when you don't pair visibility with pressure. This is day like 17 of me posting every day on my YouTube. And if I had pressured myself and I'm like, it's got to look a certain way and I got to have all of this certain type of B-roll and the this and the that, like, y'all, I would have quit after like day 3. I would have quit after like day 3. But we soften it. Gentle consistency. I've been able to show up every day. It's been beautiful. No pressure. The only pressure is get the video out however it needs to look. Don't let it look like slop, but however it needs to look. So I want you to be fully supported in your visibility journey, your visibility growth journey, whatever it is that you're doing. And so I need you to go to the description and I need you to join the Magnetic Visibility Circle, because it's not just about having the strategies, which my thing is teaching YouTube as that main vehicle because it makes everything else easier, but the mindset piece as well, where you get access to hypnosis audios and things like that to really help keep you grounded, to help you with that identity shifting that you are going through, and having a safe space to just go through that visibility grief that essentially everybody goes through, but again, not everybody really talks about. And since we are in the season of visibility growth and wanting to really lock in and keep on the trajectory that we have set for ourselves, there might be some destructive habits that you have that are holding you back that it's time for you to let go of. So I want you to watch this video next so that you can self-assess and figure out, are these things holding me back or are they helping me move forward? I'm going to see you over there.